And over I fall in love with you.
Good morning and welcome to the New Haven Innovation Podcast. We're here this morning with a team from MakeHaven of makers and entrepreneurs and inventors. You're listening to the New Haven Innovation Podcast on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We're streaming this live on TuneIn Radio and newhavenindependent.org. It's also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent, or just go to your Facebook page and look it up. We're happy for the generosity of New Haven Independent in hosting us here with supporting and promoting the programs of the Elm City Innovation Collaborative. So we're here this morning with J.R. Logan, Eric, and Don from MakeHaven. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. So I guess I'll start with the basic question. What is MakeHaven?
Well, this is JR. I'll jump in on that one. We're a nonprofit organization which focuses on getting tools in people's hands so they can be creative, entrepreneurial, explore art, explore a prototype, maybe a small business. We do that with sewing machines, laser cutters, woodworking, metalworking, and a longer and longer list every day of tools and teachers that show people what to do.
And where is MakeHaven?
So we are on Chapel Street, right across from Elm City Market. We have a small storefront, so you ring a doorbell, but you come down, and we have a large, about 8,000 square feet at 770 Chapel.
And that's right across from Elm City Market, right at the train station.
Exactly.
Great.
Conveniently located by the buses.
Yeah. So this is a membership-based organization. So it really is supported by all the people that come in and use the space. And we have Eric and Don that are both members here today. I guess I want to start, Eric. What first attracted you to MakeHaven, and what has kept you as a member?
I'm a professional designer for products, and MakeHaven just creates a way to have other people interested in what I do. And it's been a great organization to just see. It brings excitement to my everyday work. You know, they do what I do but then from first time, and they're so happy and so interested in learning more and doing more. So it's really just a nice community to be part of and help it grow and see it grow from when it was in a very small space to the 8,000 square feet that we have now, and almost every tool that you can need to make something.
Mm-hmm. And Don, what attracted you to MakeHaven and made you want to be a member?
The fact that I am a crafter by nature, and I needed a space to go and do my crafts or try new crafts. And originally they were on State Street, correct? And I was trying to join, and then they moved to Chapel Street. So I had to wait until they got the bigger space, but it all worked out because it's been a rewarding and exciting journey thus far to be a member.
And how long have you been a member now?
I think a little over a year now. A little over a year.
Mm-hmm. And in that year, you've already started making some new things that you're putting out into the world. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Well, yes. I started making rubber bags, and these bags are made out of bike inner tubes, and they're very durable and very lightweight. And that has evolved from my wanting to work with rubber. I originally wanted to work with tires and realized that I had no place to set up tires, actual tires. So that's how I ended up working with the inner tubes. And it has evolved into the bags that I'm creating now.
And so those are recycled inner tubes that you're stitching together?
Yes. Totally recycled, totally been processed. So they're durable. They can be taken out into the world and used just like any other regular shopping bag or any kind of bag that you need to carry, at least right now, because everybody needs a bag for something.
Oh, what made you think of making bags?
It kind of just evolved. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do with it. And that's the other good piece about being at MakeHaven. You have the opportunity to be around so many creative people, and you just have suggestions and ideas flying around all the time. And then you have the space to be as creative as you want.
Mhm.
So it it started off as one thing, and it has evolved into something else at this point.
And that's through the community that was there.
Yes.
It was built.
Absolutely.
So if somebody's intrigued by this idea and wants to maybe get one of your bags, how would they go about doing that?
Well, right now they can go to Right Approach, spelled WRIGHT, approach.art, ART, and they can look at a few of the bags that I have already started.
Is that a pun on the Wright brothers?
No, absolutely not.
I'm just thinking bicycle tires, you know.
True. Nice catch.
All right, so rightapproach.art.
Yes.
And you can check out the bags.
Yes.
And these are, I guess, recycled from the New Haven area.
Yes, bicycle
tubes.
shops, and I thank them so much for just working with me. They didn't have to be as generous as they are, so I do appreciate the area of bicycle shops that have helped me and continue to help me with this endeavor.
All right. Well, I want to keep on the theme of plugging things going on in MakeHaven and pivot over to you, Eric. You've been working on a project called the Visual Extender that has had some great news to share recently. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so about a year ago, we were running a set of brainstorms at MakeHaven where people come in and we kind of throw out ideas to solve different world problems. We did one on solar power. We did this one on saving people when they get lost at sea. Particular one we participated is sponsored by the Coast Guard, and they were looking for people to help find anybody that falls off their boat. When you're lost at sea, all you can see of the person is really their head in a big blue sea. So out of the brainstorm, we had probably like 50 people come in and brainstorm, and Mary Ann and I decided to submit our idea to the competition. They received over 300 submissions. Out of those, we were selected to the top 20 and continued on. January this year, we submitted again our improvements and managed to get our first round of funding from them for $10,000.
So that's cash you won.
Cash we won from the competition to work into our business. So then we used that money. The intent of the money was to create our first proof of concept. And in September of this year, we were out of New London in the water, in the Sound. There was a 200 feet cutter from the Coast Guard. There was a fixed-wing airplane flying above, and 4 teams competing in the water with the actual proof of concepts. So we were set adrift.
What does it mean to compete in the water?
So we literally put our devices by themselves, anchored to the floor, and then the Coast Guard had to find them. So just like if it had lost a person, they had over almost 100 crew members out looking for the devices in different ways, like they would in a normal search, in a search pattern.
So what is your device? If people can think about it floating in the water.
Yeah. So our task, our approach to it is to try to not use any electronics, and we created a collapsible buoy. So if you've ever been in the water, or if you go to any harbor, you can see these little red markers out in the water that you can clearly tell from afar. Sometimes they're green, sometimes they're white, but you can see them from a long distance away. Those things are fairly large and cumbersome. You wouldn't carry them in your person. So we put together a collapsible buoy that fits in your life jacket, sits in your shoulder, and if you're ever in danger, if you're ever falling over water and you need to use it, you would open it, and it deploys into about 18, 20-inch buoy that is yellow, has reflective tape, so it has radar reflectivity as well, so that when the Coast Guard or your friends are looking for you, instead of saying just the size of your head in the water, which is usually less than 10 inches, you're looking for a very light, bright buoy, just like what you see today if you look at the harbor. And so we succeeded at finding our device. We're very excited. We actually believe we're going to get another round of funding from them that's supposed to be announced coming up in the next week or two.
Oh, wow.
And hopefully we're now moving on to the fundraising stage of everything. So we're looking for investors to raise our total, probably estimate around $200,000 funding raise, so we can bring it to market and sell it. And you can hopefully carry it with you next time you're out in the water.
Wow, that's really exciting. And what's fascinating about it is you mentioned that it doesn't use electricity. It's a low-cost solution to a real challenge. You said there were 3 other teams that were out there, so you're in the top 4.
Yes.
There's 3 other teams out there. What were their sorts of devices that they were using to try to help people find the lost sailors?
It was kind of interesting. We all had different approaches. So one of them they do bicycle helmets today, and their bicycle helmets are smart bicycle helmets, and so they moved their technology onto something that would attach to your life jacket, and essentially it's using strobe lights that sync with what the Coast Guard usually looks for. So if they're during the day, they'll be sending out radar signals. At night, they're sending infrared, so that hopefully the Coast Guard can easily find them. And then there was another one that was using chemical lights to glow at dark as well, so that you could find.
And that's like glow in the dark, like a glow stick.
Yep, like a glow stick kind of technology.
So each of those, I mean, seem a little bit more expensive than just a little inflatable piece.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we look forward to hearing the good news from you in a week or two.
Yes.
This is really exciting. And if anybody is interested in learning more or potentially investing in this cool product,
they can go to foundatsea.com with hyphens in between. So found-at-c.com.
Okay. And the product is called the
Visual Extender.
Visual Extender. All right. So both of these are new products being developed at MakeHaven with the support and sort of the evolution of the community. And Eric, I'm correct. You and Marianne met at MakeHaven.
Yes.
So this community is bringing together the teams that are doing this work. JR, do you want to talk about how, as the director at MakeHaven, you approach trying to foster or build this type of community that is so dynamic and evolutionary?
Happily. So we really try and let people interact with both the tools and with each other and have their interests be the guide. So there's a lot of programs that might be very prescriptive in how you go through and how you experience that organization. And we're quite the opposite. We want you to explore, and we're sort of responding to how do we enable you to pursue your own do-it-yourself ambition or your entrepreneurial ambition and so on. And we're very fortunate that we have volunteers with different levels of experience. Eric's an example, and they come and they often will share what they've learned, and that collection of different ideas allows us to get much further than we could sort of design as a staff individually.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, so somebody comes into MakeHaven, what sorts of events or activities can they expect to participate in if they want to come check out the space?
Yeah, absolutely. So one way to check out the space is right online on makehaven.org. You can select the button that says take a tour, and you can schedule a tour. You can come any Tuesday at 7 p.m., and that's when we do larger group tours. You can go to our website and see events. We have a number of public events. We have some paid workshops where you get an experience doing printmaking or any number of items. We've also periodically done these competitions. As Eric talked about, we had a big group. We got them together. We went through a brainstorming exercise. We're responding sometimes to national challenges. There was one related to NASA Habitat Challenge that was very successful and won some money. Currently, we're encouraging people to participate in a challenge called Growing Beyond Earth, which is to create a plant incubator that would go on the space station. And there's other challenges that will be coming down the pipe. Mm-hmm. So these are great calls to action, and I find that creativity comes to fill the void when we put a challenge out there.
So, I mean, one of the things that I think has come up around MakeHaven, and Don, we were talking a little bit about before the show about who sees themselves like going and participating in a makerspace. So I guess JR, I'd love to start with you asking the question of what sort of is the background of most of the people participating in MakeHaven, whether they're hobbyists or artists or professional engineers.
Yeah, well, it's been changing and broadening over time. And I find that we have a pretty good split between engineers, artists, and people just pursuing a craft for the love of engaging with woodworking or sewing or metalworking. And I think that that lack of a single type of customer is a real strength of MakeHaven, because the value that is generated generally is what people do themselves. And then we internally will share pictures, and people will share success stories. Often people will then choose to become volunteers. So the way education happens is there's a whole group of about 20 volunteers on a schedule, and they're there to mentor, teach, and bring people forward. And then in turn, folks from the membership become those volunteers. So we're very lucky that we get a very broad set of interests and a broad set of objectives. And our job is to not get in the way.
And that's been a growing community, at least from where you were in the previous space. There's quite a few more members.
Yeah, very much so. We were at 100 and something members, 120, somewhere in that range in the last space. And now we are, I think, at 340 in that space.
Okay, that's almost tripling.
Yeah, that we've had tremendous growth, and there's this awesome quality that in that growth, there's these people that have specialized talents. So now we have access, and the network has the skills, experience, enthusiasm of a much bigger group. So it's more valuable because it's a network, and networks grow with all the connections that happen in it.
And so one of the things that our program was able to help support MakeHaven with was that expansion and some of the equipment and the build out using the CT Next Innovation Places program funding that we received from the state went towards some of that new facilities and some of the new equipment. And that really seems to be catalyzing a lot of that growth of almost tripling the membership. Don, when you were talking about becoming a member, you said you were waiting for sort of this new space to come online.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about what's exciting about the new space in its setup that made you join when it was available?
What's exciting about the new space is I never went into the old space. I just saw the size of it, so I knew it was kind of small, on a smaller scale. So once I got into the new space, I realized how much opportunity there is to do and really expand what it is that you're trying to do, whether it's laser cutting or the wood shop, or now the metal. Is the metal room open now? Doing the
It is. Yes.
It is. So it's all this expansion going on, which constantly feeds your creative mind. It constantly feeds that, and the people that come in are constantly supportive of whatever direction you want to go into. They're just always been supportive about, you actually visualizing and it coming to fruition, whatever it is that you're trying to create.
Well, and that's something that you definitely don't find just being alone in a garage trying to make something. Is a lot of encouragement and positivity around that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are some examples of technologies or skills that you weren't expecting to bump into that you found at MakeHaven?
Laser cutting. I've used that quite often. Never expected. I just thought I was sewing. That's all I wanted to do. And actually, I didn't know how to sew before I joined MakeHaven. So they have helped me immensely. So sewing was the only thing that I was interested in. And I've done projects on the laser cutter with wood, and looking forward to doing something in the metal shop. So it's just a constant evolution of all these different ideas that you have that you just personally want to achieve, or something that you want to take beyond MakeHaven.
So it started with rubber and inner tubes and recycling. Is there a sense of what's next?
I have no idea. I'm just ready for the journey. I'm just ready for the journey to see where this takes me. Like I said, I didn't start with rubber. Wasn't the first project. Actually, laser cutting was, and using wood. That turned into something that was really great for me and beneficial. I ended up making custom coasters for the mayor, and that was totally unexpected. And now I'm back doing things with the rubber, so I'm just up for the journey.
That's really exciting. You talked about sharing the news about MakeHaven with more people.
Yes.
And before we were talking about somebody who worked across the street didn't quite know what MakeHaven was.
Exactly.
What would you say to somebody who hasn't heard about MakeHaven that might share the news or give them a different impression of the space?
If someone hasn't heard about MakeHaven and they are engage with somebody who's a member, just ask them, what is it? What do you do? And I believe that any member will tell them, you come down and you see all that we have to offer. And it's a great opportunity for anybody who wants to be creative in any realm.
That's a great pitch. So one of the ways that some of the different groups are engaged is through some of the more formal programs or partnerships. And so I remember being in there and having seen like the guy who runs the Hill House robotics team, helping out with some of the builds for the students. There was a team from Sikorsky that was doing a sort of a competition design there. There's programs that work with veterans. Jared, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that people use the space potentially for other programs or teams?
Absolutely. So you're right. That is a good list of the types of partners that we've engaged with. And most of these groups are seeking the tools, and they come in. So the robotics team came in. They wanted a place to be able to work and meet with parents and their students, and build a robot competitively to go out there. And there's various challenges that happen annually. And I think as they've engaged with us, they've found that they connected to the community as well. That's certainly true as well with the group of veterans that we work with. And we've enjoyed very much that some of those groups, we find that individuals will get more and more engaged with us and more connected to the community, and become really part of it and bring their skills and talent. And I think that's what it is about. But by and large, these various groups and individuals, we work with them to make sure that it's safe and that there's certain guides, but they follow their own path, and we support them in that.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, a lot of the national conversation around makerspaces can either come from a very sort of access and community-driven perspective, or really come from sort of a professionalized, corporate-linked or academic-linked approach. I was wondering, Jared, can you talk a little bit about what it means to run a makerspace in relationship or in partnership to the university that has some of their own maker facilities, and what that dynamic and relationship looks like, particularly given some researchers that are doing a variety of complicated builds in more academic settings?
Sure. Well, so we're a very lucky community or wealthy community in maker resources. You think about that, the library has a great place for makers, the Tinker Lab. You can come in and learn about various things. We have some venerable institutions, Yale University being one that has the CEID. UNH is building their own makerspace. There's makers in at Southern and other places. There's the Eli Whitney Museum. So you might think that that's competition, but in fact, it's additive. The fact that we have an ecosystem where there's different ages that you can engage. So you can start by going and learning at the Eli Whitney Museum at a very early age. If you're curious about things and you don't want to consider membership yet, you can take a tour of MakeHaven, or you can go and you experience the public library. Students who are graduating from these institutions have a need to continue to access tools and community and supports. And so MakeHaven becomes a destination for those students. So being a community-driven makerspace, we have really benefited in having all of this other maker activity happening around us. And so there are differences in how we all handle our what we do and who we serve, because they might be serving students. But we've found great ways to interact. And well, for example, we've done several classes in partnership with UNH and found a great partnership and exchange with faculty there. And we've worked with the CID as well, and others. So those partnerships make us richer,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope bring something to the table for them as well.
Yeah. So over the course of the time that ECIC and CT Next have been supporting MakeHaven in this expansion, you've relocated to a new facility that's doubled in physical size. You've almost tripled your membership. You've added what is soon to be this metal shop. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the metal studio is?
Yeah, so we want to have the full set of capabilities. And we saw that for fabrication. And we saw that, yeah, we're doing sewing, we're doing laser cutting, we're doing 3D printing, and we're doing woodworking. But that next level is to be able to build something out of metal. Metal's an amazing material. Some products need to have a metal component in them. And so being able to offer that has been a long-term goal. And that shop has been in development. It is very close to a formal announcement that it will be on our doorstep. It'll be there. There's some exciting components that will be announced soon.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. So the carpentry shop was added last year, or built out and opened last year. The metal shop's opening very soon.
Yep.
You also have new spaces where people can actually rent dedicated studio space.
Yeah, absolutely. The studio spaces were born out of seeing that there were a lot of people getting more serious. So you have a business, maybe you're making bags like Don, and you start getting a couple of customers, maybe some boutiques are handling it. You want a little home base to be able to work from. And this is right next to the makerspace. So it joins that ability to fabricate and the ability to have a little home base. And we rent them only to makers who are interested in making things. We want it to be part of our community. And we rent it just month to month so that there's not a lot of commitment or there's not a lot of risk of taking it on. So we really see it as a platform on which people can start. And eventually they're going to move out. You know, it's sad, but they'll move out and they'll have their own business, their own little factory with 12 employees making tire or rubber-based bags. You know, those are we have a lot of people trying, and some of them will succeed, given time.
Also, just down the hallway from those studio spaces is the Elm City escape room.
Absolutely.
You want to talk a little bit about the escape room and Escape New Haven?
Well, Escape New Haven is a business that we have found has an aligned set of interests. They build all sorts of contraptions that go into puzzles. They have to thematically create rooms, so that involves a lot of fabrication of fake materials, fake fire, fake wood, fake all sorts of things. I mean, you have to really go and experience it to see this sort of work that goes into it. And a makerspace is great for that sort of fabrication. So they've got a adjoining workshop. They build all the prototypes there. They do their main one in New Haven, but they actually send some of their games that they build out to other cities. So we are having an impact that is beyond our region.
And that's the secret room where they build the games, so you can't see how they work.
Exactly.
Okay. But that's great community. So before we wrap up a little bit, I do want to turn back to you, Eric. You talked about the work that you do as a product designer with Big Bang IP, and I wanted just to ask you about your experience running that type of firm and practice here in New Haven. Why are you here in New Haven? And if people are interested in talking to you about products, how do they contact you?
So I have a professional product design studio. We've launched about 200 products to date that you can go buy on the shelf. And we primarily work at the early stages of designing it and engineering it for manufacturing. So when you're ready to take something that you've prototyped, that you have maybe made 10 out of them, but now you want to bring it up to 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 products. We help with that transition to make sure that everything is going to be repeatable. The reason we came to New Haven is because a big client of ours has been Cuisinart, which is located in Stamford, Connecticut. And I like boating, so I like being close to the water. So this was a nice home base for me to be able to do both my passions.
So your job brought you to Connecticut, but the city brought you here,
yes.
and wanting to be by the water in a great place to live.
I mean, New Haven is much more affordable than Stamford, and it has a great nightlife, lots of things to do, lots of things to see. And a few great communities that kind of make it more inclusive, like MakeHaven.
And so, if somebody has a product idea and is listening to this, because this is the Innovation Podcast on WNHHLP 103.5, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven, And if somebody wanted to talk to you about their product idea, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so if they go to our website, bigbangip.com, they can there's a contact us link there. They can certainly reach out through us, or they can go to MakeHaven and they'll be able to get us in touch with us there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we have different programs to help inventors get started. Helping them. A lot of times, what they need is advice. They're not yet ready to commercialize, and we also have helped several local startups over the years to launch their products.
All right, and people can come by MakeHaven on Tuesday nights for the open house to check out the space and ask after Eric. So before we leave, I wanted to end on one question, which is based in the fact that MakeHaven really is a member-driven community, and that decisions about things like what sorts of tools or programs really come bubbling up from the members. And so I wanted to ask both of you, Don and Eric, what's one thing that you would like to see new or additional at MakeHaven that isn't there now, that might be exciting or interesting for you? And I guess, Eric, we'll start with you.
We've added a lot of the things I wanted since I've been helping JR with the decisions. I guess now that we have the machine shop, which, by the way, does much more than metal. The difference is in the wood shop, you do wood. In the machine shop, you can do plastics, and you can do metal, you can do granite, you can do a lot of the other material. Any material that's not like what wood is, kind of like a long grain thing. So if it's not that, the machine shop is going to let you do it. I would think probably next would be to try to get some welding going, because we haven't been able yet to find a space and the resources to create a welding setup inside. We have a press brake, for example. Sheet metal is something that people can build a lot. So if we get like a spot welder, they could assemble their own boxes for their cars. They can assemble a lot of things a lot easier. What MakeHaven brings is, when they first come in, they want to 3D print. That's what they all think about. The reality is that you can make a lot of things that are not 3D printed, that most things you interact with are not 3D printed. They're too large, too cumbersome for that. And MakeHaven lets them do it. And so I would say spot welding and more joining techniques should be next, now that we have all the facilities for cutting and milling and doing all the fun stuff to create. We can do wood, plastic, metal, rock, and fabric. So I would say just assembling next. Maybe somebody will make a race car.
And what about you, Don? What would you like to see in the space?
A karaoke station.
There we go. I was not expecting that.
To be honest with you, I really cannot say anything, because everything that you need is already there. And if it's not there, it's coming. So I really couldn't say with nothing at this point, except maybe more members.
That's great to hear, and hopefully some people listening to this podcast will come down and check out MakeHaven on Tuesday nights for the open house. JR, I guess I'll end with you. What are you most excited about next for MakeHaven? Yeah,
well, obviously we've talked a little bit about the machine shop, and around the 21st of November is the expected launch celebration. And there'll be some more formal information coming out in the future, so pay attention to that, and we're all excited about that. And I think what I'm most excited about fundamentally, though, over time is just because we've existed for a while and we've built up this membership, and developing products takes a long time. We're starting to see that early work is really coming to fruition, that people have learned the skills, they've got ideas, that they've tried a few, and now they have the one that they're going for. And I think over the next, it'll be a couple of years. These are long-term investments in energy and passions. But I think we're going to see some really exciting things come out of it, things that will impact people because of the artistic expression they're able to do, they wouldn't be able to do otherwise, because of the business that supports them they wouldn't have been able to do, because of the product that changes other people's lives. So those are real meaningful things, and I'm not sure exactly which ones they'll be yet, but I know they're in there.
All right, well, that's great to hear, and a wonderfully hopeful and optimistic note to end the morning on. For anybody who is listening on Facebook Live, I want to remind everybody that today is Election Day, and 3 out of the 4 of us already have our I voted sticker on. So make sure you get down to the polls before 8 p.m. And we'll be wrapping up. I just want to remind everybody that you are listening to the New Haven Innovation Podcast on WNHHLP 103.5, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. Check us out on Facebook or the New Haven Independent website. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming this morning and joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right.